Today is April 14th of 2017, and I am interviewing Mario Tennyson in Taylorville, Illinois. Mario is 47 years old, having been born on October 12th of 1969. My name is Sue Burkholder, and I will be the interviewer. So, Mario, for the recording, would you please state what branch of service in which you served?
I was in the U.S. Navy.
All right. Well, to start, could you please tell us a little bit about where you were born, and when and where you were born, and maybe a little bit about your family?
Okay. I was born in Roberta, Georgia, and I come from a family of 6. It's 3 boys and 3 girls. And I graduated in 1989 at Rockdale County High School. And my mother and father, my father passed away when I was little. My mom just passed away a couple of years ago. It's been about 5-10 years since my mom passed away. So both of my parents are deceased. I have 2 children, my son Emmanuel and my daughter Shakayla. And both of them are 25 years old. You know, I'm proud of them. They both completed high school, and you know, they doing well for themselves. That make me proud of them. You know, I wanted them to go in the military, but I'm glad that they chose another path where education is, they still fulfilling the education.
Okay. And what were you doing before you entered the service?
Well, I was a manager at Hardee's, and a Navy guy came in and was talking to me about the military, and I was sitting down talking to him, and I gave it some thought, but the person that really put it in my mind joining the military was my cousin. His name was Ralph Wellens. He was in the Navy. He was a MSC, he was a cook. And every weekend when he would come see us, he would always talk to us about the Navy and all that. So he was the one that put it in my head about the military. And when this guy came in, I went to MEF in the MEF Center in Atlanta. That's where I was recruited at. And when I went, my cousin had already explained to me about the military and telling me, you know, to make sure I find a rate that would help me even when I got out the Navy. And so I went there and I talked to them, and once I took the exam, they was like, well, you qualified. Have you ever thought about engineering? I said, yes. So I went in as a GSM. I signed up for the GSM, gas turbine mechanic. Mm-hmm. I went to boot camp at Great Lake. That's up near North Chicago, for a lot of people who might not know. That's where I went to boot camp at. And I still remember the company I was in. I was in company 125. I still can remember that. And once I graduated from there, I went over to the Naval Command Center. That's where we go to school. I went to gas turbine school, GSA. I went there. I think it was something like 12 weeks of schooling. But I enjoyed it. But one thing I learned about the Navy was almost like it was easy for me to make that transition because it was like being in high school. Going back through high school, we do a lot of studying in classes, and you have to prepare yourself. And they were teaching you to be an adult going through GSA school. The teacher gave you the work, but they're not going to sit there and watch over you to make sure you did it. And you have to be ready for the classes. And the thing, they were teaching us that even during that school to be responsible, because if you failed, you were put back in another class. Then once you failed, you was out of there. So it was up to you to push yourself to really become a gas turbine mechanic. You know, and I really enjoyed the classes. And then from there, once I graduated with the GSA, then I went over to GS hot plant, and that's when I was going to school at 11 at night to 7 in the morning. For military people, that's 2300 to 0700. But it was interesting, and it was kind of challenging because at the time my wife was pregnant, and you know, I don't know if a lot of men, you know, she being pregnant and going to school at night was kind of hard on me, but I made it through. And with the GS hot plant is where they take, so it's a simulation of a ship, and they'll teach you how to close out a system, how to reopen the system, how to work on valves and all that. And so, once I went through that, it was preparing me for boarding the ship because I was getting ready. I didn't know at the time they were going to automatically send me to a ship. And so when I was going through that, I enjoyed that. We would just go down there and they would tell us like, how do you change out this valve? You pay attention to all the work that goes into like repairing valves and system, how to check oil.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember the two oil. That was lube oil, and then there was synthetic oil. The lube oil was the one you didn't have to rinse, like $21.90. The synthetic oil is the one that you had to have gloves on because it would irritate the skin.
Mm-hmm.
These things still stay with me today from the military.
Can you think back to, before you go any further, can
Yes,
you think
ma'am.
back to during your basic training?
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything memorable during that specific time that you can
Oh.
tell us about?
Basic training. One thing that really stuck out to me was the gas chamber. The gas chamber, you go in there. I was the last one. My last name Tennyson. When you come out, guys, you cannot leave the gas chamber until you gave them your name, your number, social security number. And so if another guy was up there messing up, I was still in there. What they tell you is take a deep breath. You could tell when they had dropped the pill, you can feel the burning in your neck. But we had the mask on. Once you take the mask off, you can feel that they had, so you already know to take a deep breath because you can feel it burning. So that lets you know, okay, let me take this last deep breath. I'm going to take it off. And so you go through there. And for those people who've been in the military, I'm going to tell you how it really was. Some people who couldn't take it, they had snot running from their nose, they coughing, they crying. But I'm going to be honest with you, I went through it pretty well because they were already preparing us for it. You know, they were telling us, guys, some of you might go through here, you might be vomiting and all that. But I got used to it going through there. And then when there, and also in boot camp, they took us through firefighting school. I would go on the other side. They would teach you, they would like fill the room up with smoke. That's why the Navy tell you must pay attention in class. A lot of the things they were teaching us in that class, we was using out in the field. And a lot of times we would be tired because we'd be out there, we'd be training, but when you go to class, they turn the lights off. Sometimes you want to relax, but you must pay attention because when they took us out to the firefighting, I remember what they were telling me about how to check the door, that I used the back of my palm of my hand to check, make sure there was no fire back there. Because I was a number one nozzleman for that group. And being a number one nozzleman, a lot of that relies on me. Because if I take you into a compartment, I open the door without checking it, we all suffer. But yeah, they were teaching us how to crawl on the ground and everything like that. Remember how we got in and how we get out. Because one thing about Navy, they teach you pay attention to detail. And that's one of the things too. You just don't walk in there, pay attention to what's around us. Because we didn't realize how dark it got in there. Then they tell you to get back out. And that's why you pay attention to everything that's around. You make sure you look at the bulkhead, what's next to the bulkhead and everything. If there was a scuttlebutt, which is a water fountain for you civilian. But yeah, we remember things like that. They taught me to pay attention to detail. And when I was in boot camp, the thing about boot camp, I wish I would have went to ROTC. Because I'll tell anybody, if you're going to go in the military, if you got ROTC at your school, go to ROTC. It'll prepare you for the military. It really does. It helps. I wish somebody would have told me that. But yeah, when I got there, it's just military takes what you know from the civilian life and change you. Like your way of walk. Being right-handed, we walk with our right foot as our lead foot. But in the military, they changed that up. It's our left foot. Even today, when I'm walking, my left foot is my lead foot. I still can't walk with my right foot as my lead foot. You know, and so it stayed with me today. You know, and military and boot camp, they teach you how to work as a unit. That's one thing you learn. It ain't about you. It's not no one person. It's a unit. And like when one guy would mess up in boot camp, I remember one time we was drilling and this guy, he just couldn't get this real march. So they took us all to this asphalt turf, which is it's just all black, and you got on boot and the sun is hot, and we stayed out like 2 hours just doing real marches until he got it right. Because if he don't get it right, we all look bad. And then I can recall where we had one guy, he couldn't do something right, so they made us all go back to the barracks, and they said we want the wall to sweat. When they said they want the wall to sweat, they closed the windows. We go put on our pea coat, utility coat, everything in the duffel bag. You shut the windows, and they made us, one guy got to one end of the bunk, you get to the other. We do push-ups, we press the bunks, we do jumping jacks. We don't stop until the wall sweat. Until that commander sees sweat on the wall, we don't stop. But it just, I know to some people it might seem harsh, but if you're in the military, it's just teaching you to be a unit. That's all it was about. And that's what people need to understand. Military isn't bad. It just, they're just teaching you how to work as a unit. It's important that you work as a unit, because all this is going to help you further on in your military career. And for a lot of guys, they be like, well, they're too hard. No, they're not. No, they're not. And the military, it helped me out a lot going through that boot camp. It prepared me for going over to the A side, getting ready for school. Because even in boot camp, they were teaching us, like, I remember, I'm going to be honest, my first day there was really got me. I thought I was going to be ready. I went and got a haircut. And I figured, okay, they ain't going to cut my hair now that I went and got it cut. So when I got to the barber chair, the guy said, how you want it? I said, well, I already got it taped. He's all right. And he just took the trimmers and cut it all off so we all look alike. That's one thing about it. In boot camp, we all look alike. We all bald-headed, no facial hair or anything. So, and I can recall things like that. And then when you go in there to get a shower, no, you don't adjust no water. The water's already adjusted. You go in there and you move out. You know, it's not, I'm gonna be honest, they're not looking for no glamorous boy to be in there. They gonna mold you into who they want you to be. And then it's all a part of being a part of the military. You know, it was a great experience for me in boot camp. And one thing I look forward to when we got our belts, we had these white leggings on. That was letting us know we were getting close to graduation. And you wear that, a lot of companies look at you like, yeah, these guys have advanced. These are the guys that made it through all the rough stuff, the swimming and all that. And for me, I knew I was going into the Navy, so I already had took swimming lessons. I went to Fort Valley State College during the summer. I would go down to my grandmother, and then they would send me to Fort Valley State College for the summer. That's how I learned how to swim before I even joined the Navy. And I had learned how to float and all that. So when I got to the Navy, we were jumping off platform. I think it was at least like 15, 20 feet. So I wasn't afraid of that. But they were telling you, cross your hand, take a deep breath. Once you hit the bottom, you tap up. And these are the things they teach you. They get you ready for, like, if anything should happen wartime, you know, that's all you do is pay attention to what they're telling you, and you jump out there. And I recall there were guys who couldn't swim who joined the Navy. I'm like, why would you join the Navy knowing that this is water? It's water. Navy is water. You're going to get in some water, you're going in the Navy. Yeah, there was guys who couldn't swim. Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so basic training, you made it through.
Yes, ma'am.
And learned a lot, and then you went on to advanced training,
yes,
which
ma'am.
you spoke about. So where was your first station? Where were you first stationed at?
Well, once I finished the heat plant, my ship was in dry dock. That's mean it was in Bath Iron, Portland, Maine. That's where they sent me to go to meet my ship. But my ship originally was out of Norfolk, Virginia. I was on a USS Haler DD-997, which is a destroyer. I enjoyed going up there because, be honest with you, I never thought I'd be in Maine. I'm from Georgia. Nobody would have never told me I'm going to Maine. When I got my duty station papers and it said Maine, I was like, this got to be a mistake. Maine, Portland, Maine, you sending me to Portland, Maine, out of all places? But my ship was in dry dock. I'm glad. I stayed up there. I think we stayed there like a year and a half. But we had a chance to experience watching a ship being overhauled. You don't get to see that being civilian or anything. What they was doing is overhauling the ship. They was adding vertical launch missiles. They was installing the Tomahawk. And I had a chance to witness them doing this. You know, even though our ship was in dry dock, it was out of the water, we still was going on with our regular military duties. We would have classes in the morning, and I would stand duty at night. And then there were some days I would work 16 hours. I didn't see my family. When I come home, they was up, and I'd be asleep. And when they go to bed, I'm up, and I have to leave. Because I'm working now, because when you're in dry dock, the hours changes. You know, it's not no 4 or 8 hours. We work, and then I still have to stand duty. But I was staying duty, I was still going through qualifications. You know, I had to get my damage control qualification. Damage control qualification is where I go and learn on how to do things like how to patch up a ship if it have a hole in it and everything like that. And still they'll go through firefighter training with me again. Then I got to learn my job and working with engines and boilers. I worked on boilers as well. And when I do with boilers, I had to go and check the temperature And if there was something above the temperature that it should be, I had to go through the system and find out why it's getting too much steam through the system. And that's what we go through with the schematic. You just don't go in there and shut a system down. You got to go through the schematic, show this commander why this system need to be shut down and where at, and then I get these tags. We had tags that we have to learn. We had the red tag, which is dangerous. Yellow tag was caution. And I put these tags on to let guys know, so if they had to go through there and repair something, they'll know that this system is out of order for right now. And we would initial it and everything, you know. And so they teach you things like that. Even though we was in dry dock, we still was going through training as well. And I can remember, you know, once the ship got ready to go back to Norfolk, it's the first time I've ever been out to sea, and I got seasick. I did. And I mean, we were just leaving from Portland, Maine to Virginia, and this is the first time I've been on a ship. And I got seasick. I slept in the engine room from Portland, Maine to Virginia because I couldn't make it. And every time got ready to move around, I was throwing up because the smell of oil and being out to sea for the first time, it's different. You know, the waves and all that. And I lost 10 pounds just from that little short trip going back from Portland, Maine to Norfolk. And once we got to Norfolk, that's when things really started changing for us. Now we're getting ready to go to the fleet. We're ready to go back out to sea. And in Norfolk, we would get our orders, we would go out, and the first place I remember us going for the first time when I got there, we went to Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. And like I said, once I had already been in the gas chamber in boot camp, so now we get to go through this again. We went through Ref Tray. Ref Tray is the training preparing you for wartime. And I remember when I boarded the ship, I'll never forget they telling me when I first got there, they said, pay attention to the ship, know your surroundings. And so I will always look at where I'm at, pay attention to everything around me, because I worked in the number 1 engine room. We have 2 engine rooms. We have the stern engine room, which is where I'm at, that's number 1, and the aft engine room, that's number 2. And so you had to always know where you're at. They'll assign you, us guys will assign us to engine room, and that's where I worked at, the number 1 engine room. And what I would do up there, I would keep an eye on the engine, the generators, the motors, and make sure everything is running right. I would have to always test the oil, report to my petty officer who was in charge, my first class petty officer. I would report to him if I see anything out of normal. And once we got to Guantanamo, that's when the training really began. I remember the first day of training there, they took us into like a makeshift ship. And they flooded the compartment, and that's when you have to learn damage control. We had to patch it up. Once they start to flood, they don't stop. They don't care if the water go over your head. That's up to you, because you should have paid attention in class. And the water, as the water flood, it's up to our waist. And I remember us guys, we patching it up. We got this leather patch up there, and the guy, we put the board up there to stop the flooding from coming in there, because they'll tell you, we're not gonna stop it. That's up to you guys. This is salt water. Cold salt water, oh, it was horrible in there. But at the time it was bad. When I look back on it, it was kind of fun, you know, because we all sit in the compartment, you know, we like, man, let's get this stopped, you know. And that's when you work as a unit. First thing you got to do, you got to look at, you got to assess the damage. You can't be worried about, oh, I'm gonna drown and all that. No, you don't worry about that. Just stop that. Just stop the flooding. And like I said, then we went after that. The next day, it was hot. Every day in Cuba was hot. It was like we wake up, it's like 90-some degrees in the morning. And then I remember the next day we go to the gas chamber. We're doing it all over again. I'm in the back. We coming out, social security number. And now this time you got to call out your rank. Like I'll come out, GSM 3 Tennyson, you know, 258, you know, the rest of my social security number. And that's how we do that. And guys still going through the motions of runny nose, they tell you don't wipe your eyes, none of that. And then so from there they'll take us and put us in another compartment, in which the Navy, see, everything the Navy we wear is a flotation device. And like our hat, you take the hat, you flip it, and you can float on it. You take the pants, you can take your shoes off, take the pants, flip it one time, tie a knot, and you can float on it. And these are the things, that's why you have to watch them instructors when they telling us this. And so I remember them putting us in there, and they telling, okay, let's see if you paid attention. Do what we showed you. Take the hat off, and they tell everybody jump in there. You take the hat, you flip it one time, and you hold it, and yeah, it'll float you up, keep you afloat for a while. But we learn how to float when you're in, in boot camp. They teach you how to tread water for a long time. Yeah, and it was nice being in Guantanamo. The only thing about Guantanamo, if you didn't have a family member there, it's boring. It's just us guys. And I was on the ship. It's 375 men. It was just all men at the time. Women wasn't on the ship with us at the time. Just all men. And I didn't really care for. I was so glad for us to leave there. And I remember us leaving there. Then we go out to. I had a captain. Once we get done with training, he would love to take us to places where we can relax. So he took us to Jamaica. I remember us going to Jamaica, and like I said, and from being out there on the ship, it's different. You could see a lot more things. And while we was out there, you could see that they were showing us how the Sea Whiz work. The Sea Whiz it's on top of the ship. Like if an enemy plane come by, they'll show us how it would fire and everything. They would do that. And while we was out at sea, they test the Tomahawk. First time I ever seen a Tomahawk missile being tested. They had to test a Tomahawk missile. And, we're not allowed on deck once they do it. Everybody's below. They'll let you know we go below deck. And we watched it from the window, and you see the Tomahawk being fired. We way out at sea at the time. We're nowhere near nobody that lands anything. So I enjoyed that experience of the Navy. They showed me things like that. But you get homesick for a while, but this is my job. This is my job, and my wife at the time, she understood, and she was very supportive of me. And when it was time for me to get ready to go up in rank, I came in as an E3, and when I remember I made third class petty officer, she was right there studying with me. And when you put on your chevron, that's one thing they go through. It's a tradition. Once you get a chevron, everybody get to hit it who made third class or above you. And so they'll go through, they'll see the chevron, and they hit it. By the end of the day, you black and blue from the bruises, but it's just a part of initiation. It's nothing personal. Everybody does it. And I had a chance to do it to somebody else who came and made rank behind me. And they give you responsibility. And once I became a third class petty officer, they put me in charge of other people. I remember I would be in charge of guys, I had to be in charge of guys for cleaning up certain areas. And then there were guys that was in my engine room that was under me that would answer to me. Then I would answer to my second class petty officer. The second class petty officer would answer to the first class. So it was always a change of order, which is good. That way you'll learn it in life, because people don't realize in life no matter what, you're going to answer to someone. And that's what it was teaching me, because there was some things I needed structure in before I joined the military, and it did. It brought some structure into my life. But something the military taught me how to be more organized. But I grew up where I had a mother who was very clean. She taught us to be clean and organized, be respectful. But the Navy tweaked a lot of things for me on how in the compartment where we live, that's why we learned to fold clothes different, because you don't have that much space. You got to learn to live in this space with others. And it's important that you learn to work with others, because we live in such close areas aboard a ship. You don't have that much space. The only space you really got up on the ship is that bunk. That's it. And I never understood why they would tell me, like, when I got aboard the ship, that do you want us to strap you in when you go to sleep at night when we out to sea? I was like, nah, I ain't worried about that. And then I did. When the ship would roll, wave hit us, and I realized, and I came out that bunk. Then I realized, like I said, when you're young, sometimes even in the military, people can't tell you still think, I can do it on my own. But now I realize why they were telling me I need to strap in. A wave hit us. And I can recall one time, because we was in Puerto Rico. And we were going through some training, but they gave us some leisure time, and a hurricane came in. Hurricane was coming. One thing about ships, you can't leave ships in dock during hurricane or it would damage the ship. So they were calling us all to come back. So we all had to come back to the ship, and we went out to sea. And it was during a hurricane, man, the waves. And I'll be honest with you, I was thinking to myself, man, are we going to die out here at sea, because these waves are hitting us? I mean, one time the wave hit us and we rocked real hard, and I thought we were going over. I thought we were really going to turn our ship over. Because remind you, a carrier is not as big. A destroyer is not as big as a carrier. A carrier is like a city. But a destroyer, you can feel the waves. You can feel the waves hit the ship. And we was looking at the back, we could see the waves coming over the ship. And everybody, we all leaning sideways. And I'm thinking, is this going to be it for us? you know. But because we know if something happened, they'll tell us go man our boat. We have boats. If something happened to ship, we got these lifeboats. Everybody is assigned to a lifeboat, and you go to these lifeboats and you put them out there, and that's what you live on. Because we got rations and everything stored above these lifeboats, and so you have to know these things too. They tell you all this. Once you come to the ship, they tell you what you're assigned to and everything. They tell you what lifeboat you're assigned to, and everybody who's supposed to be aboard that ship. You got your name, their names in there, and these are the things that they will make you aware of once you've been assigned to a ship. And like I said, I really enjoyed it. I wanted to do 20 years because my grandfather, I come from a family of military personnel. My grandfather was in the Army. My uncles, I had 3 uncles who served in Vietnam. My older brother was in the Army. My youngest brother, he served in the Navy, and I just had a nephew who just came from Afghanistan. So I come from a family of military people. And when I told my grandfather I had joined the Navy, he wasn't happy. He wanted me to go in like he did in the Army. Because I was the only, besides for my younger brother, I was the only one that really joined the Navy. But I did. I come from a family of military personnel. So military always been a part of the Tennyson and the Harris family. Because my mother's last name is Harris, and all her brothers, they joined the military. And to see my nephew go in there, and I still talk to him today about it. He sent me pictures and everything. And I was sharing some of my experience of the Navy with him. And when I was in the Navy, and that's how I met my son mother. My son mother, she was in the Navy with me as well. We both was Navy personnel. And then my daughter mother, who I married, she worked on the base. And so they understood this Navy lifestyle as well, being in the military and all that. I would have wanted my son to go. I wanted him to go Navy. I told him, if you do, I wanted you to go do what I had did, GS and gas turbine. Because we got two branches in gas turbine. You can either be a GSE, which is gas turbine electrician, or gas turbine mechanic. But we all work together, And I remember a lot of the guys, when I got aboard the ship, they used to have BTs. They were coming over in my rate. And so I learned some of the things from them about boiler, because they were called boiler technicians. And so they helped me out a little bit. Because like I said, I worked on the engine as well, but we had boilers aboard our ship. So one thing about me, if I don't know something, I'm going to ask you. And that's how I was in the Navy. I would ask them boiler BTs, who used to be BT, but they came GS, about some of the things, and they would teach me all that. Yes, ma'am.
What did you do for entertainment?
Well, for entertainment, it ain't much you can do on a ship like my size ship, but we would fish. Like when we was in Cuba, we would fish off the side of the boat. Sometimes we go swimming. But before we go swimming, we got to have we have shark spotters. These were guys that would stand aboard the ship. And I'll be honest with you, swimming in the ocean is totally different. Swimming in any lake, the salt water, I'm telling you, I never experienced nothing like salt water. Once you get out of that sun and the salt water, it's like ants, fire ants. If you're from the South, people from the South understand fire ants. It's like fire ants burning on your skin, and it was so hot. And then with that salt water eating on your skin, we would go swimming sometime, and we would have cookouts. Like I remember one time I spent the 4th of July out at sea. And for people who really don't understand, even though you're on a ship, if you're not 21, you're not drinking alcohol. And it surprised me. Yeah, the guys who was under 21, they had a bracelet. We had a picnic at the back of the aft of the ship. And if you was under 21, you wore a bracelet, and you weren't allowed no alcohol. But it was really funny to me that, guys, even though you're in the military, you couldn't get alcohol, even though we was in the service. But yeah, my company commander was strict on that. If you was underage, you're not getting no alcohol. But yeah, we would do stuff like that. Sometimes they would allow us to one time we did a little skeet shooting. They would put up some targets and let us shoot rifles or whatever out at sea. We do things like that. But like I say, it wasn't much. I wasn't on a big ship where we can do much out there. We would toss the ball around, and sometimes I would go out back and just look out there and just look at the sunset sometime. And you'd be amazed at sea at night. You can't even see your hand in front of you. That's why at night it's best to let someone know that you went back there, So if something happened, we'll know that you was out on the ship. But you normally supposed to go out there. Once we darken the ship, all hatches are closed. You know, when we say darken the ship at night, that means no lights to be shown, because you don't know if somebody trying to spot our ship or whatever. And yeah, I remember one time I went out back and I left that latch just a little bit because it was so dark you can't even see your hand in front of you. I just wanted to see what it was about, because I never been out at sea at night. So I went out there and I was like, wow, I can't even see my own hand in front of my face. That's how dark it is out there at sea. But you can hear things out there. We used to hear the whales, and we would have dolphins follow us, and yeah, it was interesting being out there on that fleet. And sometimes I would go up to the top. I would just go up top of the ship, look around, and they taught me how to drive the ship. Like he would give me, that's one thing aboard a ship. You have to learn not just your rate, but you should learn other, just in case something would happen to that guy. You will already know what to do. They know how to put you in. And that was part of my requirements, that I would learn how to drive a ship. And so what they would do, they would take me up there with the boatswain mates. And the boatswain mate would teach me on how to drive the ship. And he would give me certain degrees, and I would turn. You have to be careful that you don't turn the wheel too fast, because if you do, you'll make the ship rock. And you don't want to do that. You don't want the captain calling up there to the quarterdeck asking who is up there driving the ship. And so, yeah, they would teach me how to drive the ship and things like that. And then sometime I would go down to the GM, the gunner mates. I would go down there with them and watch them fire off the guns. But when they fire the guns, they let everybody know you have to go below, because if you're up above, it'll bust your eardrum. So we go down there, we got these earmuffs, and we would watch them. One experience I had when I was in the Navy, we did a drug ops. We did a drug op with the Coast Guards. And our ship was the company ship with the Coast Guard, and we bust these guys trying to smuggle drugs in the U.S. First time, because I never done drugs. I never even smoked a cigarette. First time I ever seen cocaine is when they did a drug op. They caught these guys trying to bring drugs. Our ship would cut them off, and the Coast Guard right there with us. And we standing up on the fantail watching them arrest these guys. And it's interesting, because like I said, I've seen something like this on TV, but to be a part of a drug op, yeah. And we would stand there and we would watch them, and then we'll do like, I don't have watch. It would be our job to walk around the ship, make sure they were secure, because we'll bring them back to Florida, to Cape Canaveral. That's where they take them in at customs. Yes, ma'am.
Well, as you wrapped up your time on this vessel, is this toward the end of your service, or did you go to another place?
No, ma'am. I did all my time in Norfolk. But we would, we traveled. We would go to places like Trinidad. We would go to St. Croix, St. Thomas. But my ship base was in Norfolk, Virginia. And yeah, I did all this while I was still in the service. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so as you were coming to the end of your service, then how did the transition go of getting out and into civilian life?
You still carry some of that. I try to separate my job when I go home, but you still find yourself doing some of your military things at home with your family sometimes. I'll say things to them. I'll be like my little girl, when she was little, I asked, who wrote on the bulkhead? And they be like, bulkhead? I mean the wall. I had to get them out of, I tell my wife to come pick me up at a certain time. Why didn't you come pick me up at 1600? She'd be like, what? Oh, I be like, yeah. So, it's kind of hard not to, but you take it home with you, because it's a part of you. I'm active duty, and I take it home with me and everything. And I took a lot of the disciplinary they took with me. I still keep that disciplinary. The way we walk, the way we posture ourselves. Because we remember, even though I'm not in uniform, I'm still Navy. I'm still military. I still represent the military. Even though I'm not in uniform, I still had to represent them. So I had to be careful what I do out of town. So even though we would go out, I make sure I conduct myself where I didn't bring no shame. I'm gonna be honest with you, I would go to clubs, but I make sure I didn't do anything that would bring about disgrace to the branch that I was in. Because I really enjoyed being in the Navy. I really was. But it took a toll. Like my wife, I didn't know that I would spend more time out at sea than I would at home. I'd be gone like 3 months, and then when I come home, I might be there for a month. Within a month, 2 weeks of that might be my duty. I have to stand duty. So, you know, sometimes I can see it take a toll, because I was young when I got married. I was 20 years old. And that's something, don't get me wrong, I love my wife, but if I could do it over, I wouldn't have got married that young. I would have waited till I was 30, you know, because being that young and married and moving around that much, it's not good. If you do marry somebody that you're in the military, they must understand what you're getting into. You have to explain to them about what you do in the military and that you're going to be gone a lot, and they must be able to deal with this, you know. And being young as I was, and she would wherever we had to move, I had to move for them with me, my family. But when I was in Maine, I had to move my family from Maine down to Norfolk. I had to make that transition for them. But I didn't go with them. Once I get them there, I got to go back to my ship and go with my ship there. You know, and that's how it is in the military. You have to have somebody that really supports you being in the military. Yes, ma'am.
Well, what is the one most positive thing that you took away from your experience in the service? You might have already talked about it, but can you identify that maybe one most positive thing?
It made me mature. It made me be more accountable. It made me be more accountable for the things that I was doing as a man. You know, because I realized that, even like I said, they taught me that it's not about me, that I had to work as a unit, and that transpired to helping me to realize that no matter what I do, that I got to realize that everything ain't gonna always be about what I do ain't gonna just affect me, but those around me. And so I had to be cautious of that. Even now at this age, I had to always think about what my action's gonna be. If I do something, it ain't gonna just affect me, it will affect those around me. And I realized that, and some of the things that I've done, it did affect my loved ones from some of the choices I made. And that's what the military reminds you, that you have to always count the cost of what you're gonna do, you know. And military, my mom still didn't mean to work hard. The military still didn't mean to work hard and take pride in what I do, you know, because I come from a family where my mom was a single parent, so I'm used to hard work. I'm used to working for things, and that's the way the military is. The military ain't gonna give you nothing. You got to earn your rank and all that. And that's what I liked about, we had one of the rates, and GS was hard to go up in rate. You have to really study, and they're not just gonna give you your rate. You're not getting ranked just because you just in the division. We have to really study it, and we go in there, and you have to be prepared. They ask you questions just like in a classroom. You do oral exam, you do written exam. They take you in the engine room and see, do you really know this, or did somebody write this down for you? And I remember him walking with me from when I was an E3 going to E4. My lieutenant, he was walking with me. He was telling me, show me how you close out the system. Tell me which oil is what. Show me the synthetic and the lube oil. And then he would ask me questions, because while I was on the ship, I was a #1 nozzleman again. I was a #1 nozzleman, and doing that, they tell you how to be prepared fast. We didn't have much time. When they said GQ, we had to be ready to go. I remember one time we were asleep. I'll never forget. It was early in the morning, probably 0400 in the morning. They called GQ. We had to be ready to go. They called that there was a fire up there by the ammunition room. And we had to get up out that bunk. We had to be out that bunk and ready to go. You got to get dressed. And no, we're not talking about you going to go brush your teeth, wash your face. No, you got to be ready. You got to go put on your fire ensemble. And I like this. People working in a fire ensemble, we got OBAs, and you got the whole fire ensemble suit on. You got the boots and everything. And you standing there, you sitting there, and you going through the motion, trying to detect the fire back there, and you sitting there, you sweaty, it's early in the morning, and when it's over with, you want to go back to sleep, but you can't, because why? Now we got to get ready for duty, and that's what the military taught me. You have to be ready at all times for things. That life ain't gonna wait on Mario. Life don't owe me anything. If I want something out of life, I have to work hard for it. you know, and I appreciate that from the Navy. If I could do it all over again, I would have did 20, and that was my goal. My goal was to do 20 years and be a chief, and I wanted to retire, but I didn't fulfill that. But I thank God that I did have the experience I did in the Navy, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I tell a lot of people, you know, I love the United States. I've been to places. I thank Navy for taking me places, because people talk about our country, but this is the greatest country. This is the only country you can come in with nothing and make something. I've been to countries where if you don't have anything, you just don't get it. They don't give you anything. And the Navy took me to places that I thought I'd never been to. You know, they showed me things that I would never thought I would be able to witness. I never thought I'd ever drive a ship. I never knew anything about driving a ship. And like I said, I didn't have a father. The Navy taught me how to do things, how to use certain tools. I never had nobody teach me how to use drills and how to work with certain, like, you tell a crescent wrench, all other power tools like that, Hilties. Nope, I never had nobody to teach me things like that. But in the Navy, I had a chance to grow up and use these type of things. You know, they taught me how to be resilient and all that. So, you know, being, like I said, without a father, I didn't have nobody to teach me things like that. And the Navy taught me things like that.
Very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Mario, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Yes, ma'am.
For talking with us about your experience.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to thank you for your service to our country.
Yes, ma'am.